Hello, Internet. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
The University of Oregon and the University of Washington face off in the Pac-12 Championship. Let's break it down.
In the NBA, the Utah Jazz come off an embarrassing road trip to win 2 straight against New Orleans. Do we have something in the starting lineup without Lauri Markkanen? All that and more. My name is Darren. That is AJ, and this is the DNA Sports Recap.
Roll the intro.
How's it going, AJ?
I'm doing good, buddy. Doing good. How was your holiday?
Oh, it was great, man. How about yours?
Went by way too fast, man. Way too fast.
Again, appreciate everybody, your patience and us getting content out to you. Really appreciate it. Real quick before we get into the content, we do like to bring up the fact that we are on the grind to 1,000 subscribers. We're trying to get there by the end of the year. So we are doing an incentive where we are giving away the first $500 that we earn in AdSense revenue back to our subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our content. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, let's go with a pre-show cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-show cheers. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you, my friends.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of college football. Now we're going to cover the Pac-12 Championship game here in just a minute coming up this week. But let's go ahead and quickly let's talk a little bit about Utah football and how we feel about how they ended the season.
Well, at least they ended it with a win.
True, that helps. That helps.
Always helps. It was kind of an ugly game.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're down to your second walk-on, nothing against Luke Batari. I think he did a great job managing the clock for the Utes and realistically did everything they asked him to do. I mean, 60% passing, 6 for 10 from the field. He did all of the things the Utes asked him. The Utes come out with a win. It just was kind of a boring game to watch.
Yeah, it is good to end the season on a win, and we'll see what happens where they end up where they go bowling. So they're 8-4 this year. Now, as a team, for a team that's playing on its either third or fourth string quarterback, however you want to slice it, we started the season with pretty much Nate Johnson. Sorry, not Reed Robertson. That'd have been a completely different situation to have that basketball player throwing the football.
Absolutely.
Right? But anyway, so if we had Nate Johnson, he's either the third or fourth string quarterback, depending on how you slice it. But if I was to tell you that the Utes would go with their third or fourth string quarterback, with the majority of their defensive, front line out most of the season, playing with their third and fourth string quarterback, 8-4, would you be okay with that?
If you'd have told me that the Utes go 8-4 without Cam Rising taking a snap this season, I would have called you absolutely insane.
Okay.
There's just not a chance, dude. I just didn't see it. The Utes did a great job managing expectations and keeping players in there that were fresh and moving. And obviously we had some offensive struggles this year. When you're missing your all Pac-12 quarterback, that's just destined to happen.
Right.
That's just one of those things that you can't get over. You can't beat it. You just kind of got to wait it out. I think Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes did a good job splitting reps. When they finally made a decision and moved to Bryson Barnes, it helped, kind of move them along in a direction. I think it kind of gave the team some footing to kind of go off of, to give someone to get behind and cheer for. And yeah, we didn't win all the games we wanted to. We were out of the Pac-12, contention to play for another conference championship. But I mean, 8-4 is really a successful season if you're a Utes fan, in my opinion. I feel good about the way that it ended. I'm excited to see him play one more time in a bowl game. And then, back to the springtime and let's get this team ready to go and go win a Big 12 title.
That's right. I just think we got a little bit spoiled here locally with back-to-back Pac-12 championships. And the last one literally fell in our lap, kind of like very similar up until the game against Arizona was breaking down the exact same way the year before.
Yep.
Same amount of in-conference losses, basically the same record coming up to that point. So I guess we all felt like Utah was still kind of in it. So because that's basically how it went down last year.
Oh, yeah. As a Utes fan, I felt like they were in it all the way until they were eliminated.
Right. So,
what I mean? They had a chance. Yeah.
So it's just, just kind of tempering expectations. We really look at the season. I do think it was definitely a positive season given everything. Before we move on to the Pac-12 championship game, did come out earlier this week that Nate Johnson announced that he is going into the portal. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I knew it was going to happen. We knew we were going to lose a quarterback. That's probably not the end of the transfer portal for quarterbacks this season. We probably realistically lose one more.
Yeah.
The Utes have a ton of deep quarterback talent coming in with the program currently. Nate Johnson, I read that he was offered an option to switch positions and possibly move to a wide receiver role, and he wasn't interested in that. So, we're going to lose talent. There's these guys are good players, but they want to get on a roster and play somewhere. When it was announced that Cam's coming back, he doesn't want to sit second, third string again for another year.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about it. I think the writing was definitely on the wall there, because with Cam coming back, Bryson Barnes potentially coming back. Let's not forget our second string quarterback, which was Brennan Rose, who was our, on the depth chart number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot there. And I think he realized that he's not really going to get a whole lot of playing time,
not at the quarterback position.
Not at the quarterback position. Yeah. So I think it's a win-win, man. It opens up some playing minutes and some reps for some other quarterbacks that they're trying to bring along, because you get Cam one more year. And then from there, it's pretty much, who's up next. And if it's not going to be Nate, I'm okay with it moving on.
Yep. And I wish Nate nothing but the best. I mean, he went out there and gave his all every single week. You could tell he did love the program while he was here. He gave his effort while he was on the field. I wish him nothing but the best, and wherever he ends up. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the Pac-12 championship game. Now, we would have loved to see the Utes make the Pac-12 championship for a third time in a row. Pretty much unheard of in this day and age, to win the last Pac-12 title that really means anything.
Yeah,
as a Power 5 conference.
Yeah,
but the Utes couldn't make the game. I think this is the matchup that everybody would want to see.
Dude, this is probably the best conference matchup this is the only time in Pac-12 conference history that any team's gone undefeated through Pac-12 play.
Right.
So, that's number one. Number two, this is the first time in a Pac-12 championship series that 2 teams are ranked in the top 5,
which is insane.
I mean, this is similar to your Ohio State Michigan matchup from last week. It was just this crazy viewed game because you've got 2 ridiculously talented teams,
right,
going into this game ready to take blows at each other.
Yeah,
and we're fortunate enough we're going to be able to watch and partake, and whoever comes out of this is Pac-12 champions and most likely gets a bid to the college football playoff.
And we'll definitely get to that in a little bit, because I definitely want to dive in a little bit deeper than that, because there's still a chance that may not happen. So it'll be interesting to dive into that a little bit. We'll talk about that. Now, there is a potential. There is potential that it doesn't happen. So we'll cover that here in just a minute.
Okay.
But for me, this particular matchup between Oregon and Washington, well, honestly, week 7 matchup between these 2 teams was, for me, my favorite game to watch all year. Was definitely in the conference, probably in all of college football, to be honest, that I've liked.
It was such a good game, dude.
Yeah. So
it was such a good game.
We've got Penix Jr. among the favorites to win the Heisman this year. He's definitely on there. He's thrown 32 touchdowns with just 8 picks. His QBR rating is 82.8, which is good for 10th in the country. So definitely a stud for sure.
And the guy that he's up there with is Mr. Bo Nix from Oregon.
Yep.
Who's number 1 in the country in completion percentage at .783. I mean, this Oregon offense is
what'd you say about Bo Nix?
Real deal.
In the Oregon video, what'd you say about Bo Nix? He's like an 8th-year starter.
Yeah, 8th-year starter, and somebody tore me
somebody
up
in the comments.
Obviously, I'm joking.
Obviously, that was hyperbole, guys.
Yeah.
He's a 5th year, though, isn't he? Is it 5 year?
Yeah, he's
5, right?
He's a 5th-year senior.
5th-year senior,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so let's go ahead and break down the game. I mean, Oregon is heavy favorites in this, which is ironic because they, it was Washington that won the game, the week 7 matchup by a field goal. So,
yep.
But, just Oregon's just been insane over the last 6 straight. So they've won 6 straight by double figures coming in after their loss in Seattle. Oregon's favored by 9.5, according to FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, and Caesars Sportsbet. So,
well, this Oregon team is really, really good. They've currently got the number 15th ranked defense. They've only allowed 22 touchdowns this season. Washington comes in with the 93rd ranked defense. They've allowed 36 touchdowns this season. Interesting enough, though, the yards per play on both of these defense, the difference, from 15th to 93rd is pretty far. But Oregon at 15 is allowing 4.83 yards per play. Washington with the 93rd ranked defense is only allowing 5.48 yards per play. So, which is actually a pretty good mark with a 93rd ranked defense. Washington is very timely with their defensive stops. If you've watched any of these Washington Huskies, they are going to give up some plays. You're going to be able to move the ball, but I'll tell you what, you get down in the red zone and it seems like they stick you and make you kick it for 3. They're very efficient. Oregon has the number 12th and Washington has the number 28 and passing efficiency on defense. So both these teams are able to stop, the pass with their defenses. And then Oregon is number 35 and Washington is number 90 in time of possession. This is a very key stat for Washington going into this game.
Okay.
You've got to keep Bo Nix off of the field. If they've got a chance, they've got to try a little bit harder to control some of this time possession. The good news is when you have the ridiculous Washington offense that you have, you can score it just as fast as they can.
Right.
I mean, these guys throw some big time. I mean, they throw a lot of over the top routes. They're going to be looking to get Odunze out there and catching the football. Rome Odunze is probably my favorite receiver in all of college football. The dude is an absolute freak. If you can get it anywhere within 6 feet of him, he's coming down with it.
Nice.
He's just amazing.
Yeah, what I have on the rating here is I did research by points allowed.
Yeah.
For defensive rating, Oregon is ranked 7th in the country in points allowed at 15.9. Washington's ranked 47th with points allowed. And here's the kicker, it's 23 points. So, I mean, basically within an average of a touchdown between the two.
Yeah.
So what I see that is what I see from there is I think both of these teams are offensive juggernauts. I think these teams are going to, like right now, the over-under line on this one is 66. I think you'd be insane not to take the over all day long on this game.
I would definitely take the over on 66 because I think there's going to be a ton of points scored. I don't know if either one of these teams, if there's any weakness in Oregon's defense, it's going to be in passing defense. Their rush defense is very stout, as we saw them, when they came here and stomped our Utes. They're tough. They've got some good interior linemen. Their linebackers move through the gaps really well. But if there's any hole to poke in Oregon, and I'm not saying there is, it's definitely going to be their cornerbacks and their secondary. And that's advantage Washington because they've got wide receivers all over the field. They've got Polk, again, they've got Odunze. And Michael Penix is going to try to throw it over top of your head.
Right.
And he likes putting 3 guys on one side and 1 guy on the other. And as long as you're in man coverage, he says, I think my guy's better than yours. And he's going to throw it right at him. And when Odunze comes down with it, and then they line it back up and they run the exact same play to the exact same guy, so they run that play 2 or 3 times right in a row. And they come back and they'll run the ball right up the middle because you're no one's own coverage. So Washington they're very efficient. Caleb DeBoer has done a fantastic job moving this program into what they are today. One interesting stat that I found is Oregon is number 2 in the country for lowest amount of punts this year. They've only punted 26 times.
Really?
The only team that's punted less times in the country is LSU with 21.
Wow.
And then they're also number 6 in the country for net punting with 42.92 yards per punt.
Wow.
So, I mean, that tells you they may not have to punt a lot, but if they do, they're going to flip in the field, and then putting those offenses in difficult positions and, being able to kind of add some pressure with the defensive side of the ball. So, Washington's number 58 in net punting. They've only punted 37 times this year. And their net's not too far behind there at 39.0 net yards per punt. So pretty interesting. I don't see a whole lot of punting going on in this game, but I do think that it's important to know that if there is some punting that they're, like both these guys can flip the field and, that's the kind of stuff, those defensive plays are what's going to really change this game.
For sure. So who you got coming out of this one? I think it's going to be Oregon, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than the spread of 9.5.
I actually really like Washington in this game.
Nice.
And it's probably because I'm a little bit biased towards Washington. Admittedly, I went up to the Utes and Washington game, dude. And I'm telling you, being at that place in Seattle, Husky Stadium was amazing. The Husky fans were top notch.
Mm-hmm. I hear the facilities are gorgeous.
It is beautiful. I mean, it was just a great experience to go up there, and it's been hard not to cheer for Washington. I think Washington pulls this one out. I think they probably win by 3 points. I could see them winning on a field goal as time expires. Again, I think that they're going to come very motivated by that minus 9.5 on this line, dude.
Gotcha.
I just don't see. I don't know how they're not getting a little bit more respect, being that they haven't lost a football game yet this year.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why that's probably the case is simply because, well, if it wasn't for a pick 6, they wouldn't have beat, was it Arizona?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of one situation plays that they may not have won, but the fact is they did win.
Right. And it was against ASU, And there is also, and Stanford played them pretty well as well. So Oregon, who has won 6 straight by double figures, basically just stomping people. And then you got, Washington who
who's just kind of creeped by the last 6-7 games. Yeah.
Had a couple wins that they just kind of got away with, which is, a win's still a win. I don't necessarily think that makes that big a difference, but let's go ahead and move into that. So with still only 4 teams allowed in the CFP here, with Washington already sitting at 3, if they win the Pac-12 championship game, then they're in, right? That's
100%.
Undefeated P5 conference with as good as the Pac-12 was this year.
Yep.
There's just, you can't argue that.
Undefeated conference champion,
which is kind of unfortunate.
You're in.
It's kind of unfortunate that Pac-12, this is like really the last hurrah, and we have this many teams at the top 25.
Yep.
Kind of unfortunate. But anyway, let's flip it the other way. Let's say that Oregon wins this game, right? They're currently ranked 5th. Now, I've listened to a lot of talking heads across the college football world this week.
Yep.
Talking about this exact scenario. And there are 2 teams that could potentially kick Oregon out if they win, which would be Texas if they went out. And they're saying that Florida State is going undefeated as well at this point. The main possibility, the main threat to Oregon not making it if they win it is going to be Texas if they win out. Let's say that is the case. If Oregon does win this game and comes out Pac-12 champions, do you think there's a shot that they do not make it in the college football playoff?
My personal opinion is I don't think there's a chance. I think if Oregon, they have one loss to the best team in the conference. It was by 3 points on the road. If they come through and beat Washington and pretty much, right that ship, and become conference champions, the way that they beat every team through the Pac-12 is going to say more than, Texas has got one big win against Alabama.
Right.
They haven't played anywhere like Oregon had to play this year.
Right.
And Oregon was running over everybody. I think if you're looking at one-loss teams, it's Oregon all the way. The fact is all of you Alabama fans, you can leave a comment if you'd like, but I'm telling you, Alabama does not deserve to play in this college football playoff.
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Absolutely not. There's just not a chance.
No, I would agree.
And I'm going to tell you, I think if they got in and they played Oregon, I think Oregon rolls them.
Yeah. I got love for Alabama football. So I got much love for Alabama down there and down in Tuscaloosa. But I would agree. I don't really think if everything falls Alabama's way and they win out, I don't think they deserve a spot in the college football playoff, especially when you got an undefeated, Florida State team and you got a 1-loss Pac-12 team.
I think if Alabama wins out and they beat Georgia, then Georgia should be out of the college football playoff, and you should have Washington and Oregon in there.
I would agree. I don't think there's a chance. Even if Oregon wins and Texas wins, I still think the odds-on favorite to make that would still be Oregon, just simply because of exactly the point you made. I would agree 100% that that's not going to be enough to keep them out, in my opinion. I just think the Pac-12 is just too strong a conference this year to keep them out.
It is.
There. Now let's go ahead and move on over to the national championship here, and we'll cover this probably again next week when all the chips fall and we see who's in, who's not, right?
Yep.
But right now, MGN has the top 3 most likely to win the national championship. Do you know who these are?
If I was guessing, if I was a betting man, okay, I would say it is Georgia, number 1. Michigan, number 2, Oregon, number 3.
Close. Michigan, number 1, Georgia, number 2, and Oregon, number 3. I think that's interesting. We'll see how that all shapes out and where it all ends. Let us know in the comments down below, folks. So what do you expect to see out of this Pac-12 championship game? The last one, as they say, for this conference. And it's a shame. We hate to see it go, especially how well it's been played for our Utes over the last, couple of seasons for sure. But it should be fun. Let us know in the comments down below. Do you think the Oregon pulls it out? Do you think Washington pulls it out? Let us know what you think.
And let us know why. I want to hear it.
Exactly. Definitely let us know why. We love to hear that stuff. All right. You ready to move on to the next one?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on over to the Utah Jazz, shall we?
Absolutely.
Now, at the time of recording, they actually just laid an egg against Memphis. So that was unfortunate to see at the time of recording. But before this loss against Memphis, who is definitely a team they should be beating right now.
Yes.
We'll definitely get into that a little bit if we have time. Let's talk about the fact that they've won 2 in a row against the New Orleans Pelicans, which, by the way, did you think that's fun? I don't know if anybody else thought this was as funny as I thought it was. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe it wasn't. But I think it's really funny that they celebrated 70s night against the New Orleans Pelicans and they wore Mardi Gras colors.
I think it was absolutely by design.
Okay. Because it's kind of like, to me, I saw that kind of as a middle finger to the team that's now named the Pelicans.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it was absolutely by design because That was, if you watch the alternate broadcast, it was like, did you see on Jazz Plus, they had an alternate broadcast for it?
Yes, they had a bunch of players back from the New Orleans days along with Big T.
Yeah. So I watched some of that, and it was saying how, like, with the Pelicans coming into town and, welcoming the Jazz's heritage back, to where it started from. So it was like it was definitely a thing.
It's more like a pay homage versus a middle finger to
Absolutely.
the fact that your team's ridiculously named the Pelicans. Okay, great. I also thought it was just ridiculous that they're also named the Hornets too. Pelicans, Hornets. Like, I know Pelicans are the state bird down there, but the Hornets, that's really
Not
Charlotte's name, you know? So, but anyway, I mean, it's kind of like the Utah Jazz. We're not actually known for our jazz scene here in Utah.
Oh, we are.
It also makes me funny. We could do a whole episode on names and why teams are named they are and how it's wrong. Like, probably the worst in the NBA is the Lakers. Do you know any lakes in LA?
No.
Besides the LA River, and that's not even a lake.
That's not even close to a lake.
Yeah. So, they're originally from Minnesota, where there's land of 1,000 lakes. So it makes sense. Minnesota Lakers. So
really,
yeah. So they came to LA and just kept the name. So I thought that one's a little bit more ridiculous than the Utah Jazz because
I was not aware of that, actually. Yeah, that's pretty good. Maybe we should do an episode on that. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and jump into the Utah Jazz here and talk a little bit about that. So there's been a change in the starting lineup after that ridiculous loss that they had in Portland, a game they should have won, where they had a lot of their frontline talent out as well. You mentioned before that even Scoot Henderson was on a minute restriction for that game.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they came out with the L there was pretty embarrassing. And Matt Hardy kind of had a come to Jesus moment with the team there and switch up the starting lineup. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, I loved the lineup switch. I think getting Fontecchio and Yurtseven out there, it added a whole different level of intensity to the game that the Jazz have been missing for a few games now. You could actually see players out on the floor that wanted to be there. They were putting in good defensive effort. Like, most importantly, they actually looked like they wanted to win basketball games, because the effort for the last few games has been, let's just go out there and give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Turn the ball over, be lackadaisical, and just not really care. It was a nice change of pace. I very much enjoyed watching the last two games because realistically, this New Orleans team is not terrible. They've got a ton of talent.
No, they're
not. Zion Williamson, and
they're ahead of the Jazz in the stadium.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram. Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty good team, right? So for the Jazz to beat them twice in a row is huge steps, right? They came out, they played good, they looked good, and they were fun to watch.
Yeah.
So
I also thought that was great that even though Brandon Ingram got to his point average, they still were able to pull out a win.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. And it's defense that really won that game for him the second game. Last possession, man, you had players out there diving and jumping to keep Zion Williamson being able to take a decent shot after that missed jump shot from Brandon Ingram there.
Yeah.
So I really feel like the defense is what won the game there for him. And you saw a lot of these hustle plays where, Fontecchio was diving on the floor. And I think it was Yurtseven. Was it Yurtseven or Fontecchio? That Will Hardy talked about how he came into the locker room with a black eye.
Yeah, Fontecchio.
Yeah, Fontecchio. He's looked like he was just in a boxing match, and he's and he welcomed it. You need that kind of toughness on the team, and the Jazz have not had that kind of player on their team in quite a long time.
No, and I agree. I mean, and I really like Markkanen, and I think he does a great job bringing a certain level of intensity, but that level of toughness is something that this Jazz team is missing, right?
Yeah.
Like, just intent with every action you do. And willingness to be physical. Fontecchio bringing that is something that you can't you're not going to find it on a stat sheet. You're not going to be able to circle any statistics that show it, but he comes out there and he just brings grit, and that's what this team was missing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they both had a very solid plus minus on both of those games.
Yep.
Yurtseven and Fontecchio there. Should we read anything into this though about Lauri Markkanen when he's not playing? The Jazz rattle off 2 wins. Is there anything that should be read into that, or do you think it's simply just Will Hardy shaking it up and letting people know that, hey, we need to see a little bit more effort out there?
I think it's probably a good combination of both. I think having Lauri not on the floor has kind of made some guys realize that they do need to step up and do need to play a little bit harder. And then I think Will Hardy shaking up the lineup and saying, no one is going to play on this basketball team just because of who you are. We're going to put the best basketball players out on the floor that are going to give the most effort and put us in the best opportunities to win. And I think that's exactly the result of what you're seeing in those last 2 games where they were good and they looked much better. I think you're seeing players playing for each other and not just playing because of, trying to earn some stats or pad their individual stats. Like, I think you saw good team basketball from this Jazz, good team defense from this Jazz team. And that was exactly what they needed.
Yeah, I really think it's a Will Hardy move that he basically stated it as, I don't care what your paycheck is. I don't care who we traded for you.
Yep.
Like you have to earn your minutes on this team.
Yep.
And it's really funny if you really look at the minutes and how that's played out. Like first of all, Simone Montecchio and Yurtsevin, both of them, you take their points together on average for both of those games, and they made up the difference that Larry Markkanen's points on average are 24 points per game.
Yep, absolutely.
Which I think is awesome. And I think it definitely keeps other teams' defense honest when you don't obviously know who the first option is going to be on this team. Because when he's on the bench and he's not playing, who's your first option?
Well, you could tell they knew who the first option was going to be because they were doubling Jordan Clarkson every single time he touched the basketball.
Right.
I mean, they were sending 2 or 3 guys at him. They were making him
with that exception, obviously,
yeah,
because he's known to be their guy. But with that exception, they didn't really know where to go after that.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to score the ball after him? Keontae George, we know he's a fantastic basketball player, but I think there's definitely not a team in the NBA that's going to say, go ahead and throw a double at him, or
right.
like you're gonna let Keontae George beat you,
right?
As an NBA basketball team, as a program itself.
Yeah,
if Keontae can beat you, go to town, big fella.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think it's just an even dispersion of there. There's nobody on the Jazz that on either one of those games against New Orleans. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nobody on either one of those games the Jazz won where they scored 20 points or more.
Nope.
Either one of those games, but both games had 6 players in double figures.
Yeah.
And they had less than 20 turnovers a game. I believe one of them was less than 10. They only had 9 turnovers in that second win.
Yeah.
So I think that's really kind of the key there for the Jazz is to take care of the ball and kind of just distribute. I think that's the biggest thing. I saw a lot of hustle on defense from the Jazz players there. You saw people like Simone Montecchio just diving on there, taking shots. And you see Yurtsevin just battling for rebounds. And you see Walker Kessler. I mean, we haven't even talked about him, but he was probably a huge piece of how well the Jazz defended over the last couple of games. I really just think the Jazz need to be a defensive first type team. You're not going to outscore the rest of the people in the West. So I think the identity for this Jazz team is just to have the heart and hustle on the defensive end to really kind of get themselves a shot to still be a playoff team.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And Walker Kessler and Ochai Agbaji have been, those guys are leading the team in block percentage right now. As of now, Kessler's blocking 4.4 of shots taken, and Agbaji's blocking 1.9% of shots taken against him. So these guys are doing a good job getting stops. And I think we're kind of, overlooking Agbaji too, because he's had some really good, strong minutes defensively, and he's actually been knocking down 3-point shots.
He's money on that quarter 3.
Yeah. I mean, they're actually kind of starting to find a rhythm, for where these guys can find, their little corner of how they can help this Jazz team. And I mean, even Keontae's had some really good defensive minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's only fouling on 1.6% of plays, which is in the 91st percentile. And that's a great clip for a rookie, being that, he's guarding a lot of higher profile players just due to his size. At 6'4", they're putting him in positions where he's going to have to guard bigger, stronger players. But, he's not putting himself in a spot where he's fouling a ton. So,
I mean, if he could drop the average turnovers on him for just maybe 2 turnovers a game, bring it down to below 5 and still maintain like 7 assists and limit the turnovers and stay out of foul trouble, what else could he expect from that kid?
20 points a game.
I think 19
That's all we need.
Yeah. 19 is his high. So let's
curb the expectations a little bit.
Just a wee bit. I don't know.
Nope. We need 20 a game, 7 assists, and probably like 6-7 rebounds.
6-7 rebounds, 2 steals, and he needs to sell 3 bags of popcorn.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to need out of you, Keontae. So
that's what we need from you, buddy. Once you're there, I'll buy a jersey.
There you go.
I'll wear a George jersey for sure.
Yeah. I have a rule when it comes to buying jerseys.
Don't
only buy legacy players.
Yeah. No, I agree with that because I currently have some jerseys, and I believe one of them is Al Jefferson.
Oh my goodness.
Gordon Hayward.
Okay.
And Donovan Mitchell. Those are the 3 jerseys that I currently have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's hurtful.
It was rough.
Yeah. Well, I think one of those is okay. I think Donovan Mitchell, his time here, he gave us a lot. We traded him.
Yeah.
It's not like he left in free agency
Gordon Hayward
holding the team hostage. So I think that one's going to be okay. But yeah, Al Jefferson, man, those are some dark days.
I love Big Al when we had him, man. I was so excited to get Al Jefferson.
Those were some dark days in Utah history, man.
Yeah.
When you had Al Jefferson, Pal Millsap days, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah. Oof. When you're relying on Al Jefferson for like 80% of your scoring, that team's in trouble.
Yeah.
Especially because he does 0 defense.
Yeah. He's a turnstile on the defensive end. So yeah, those were hard times. I think that was the last time the Jazz were really
Like
in it.
bad. Ty Corbin bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the bad stretch, man. When we were just like, would they make the playoffs? Do they have a shot to make? I think that was the last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those were some rough days.
They were.
Let us know what you guys think, Jazz fans. We'd love to hear from you on when you thought were the darkest days of Jazz times.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below, folks. What do you think about the Utah Jazz? Do you really think this switch in the starting lineup is going to make any difference? I mean, obviously they just laid an egg against Memphis, but do you think this is going to be something permanent? Do you think, obviously, with Larry Marketing going to be playing again, and with Kessler coming less off of minute restrictions from his injury, we're probably going to see them more. But do you see this shakeout? Do you see this team being the same as they are now at the trade deadline? Definitely something we should probably talk about in greater detail in another episode. But yeah, so let us know in the comments down below, folks. Again, a reminder, if you currently are not subscribed to the DNA Sports Recap YouTube channel, please go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you're liking what you see so far, hit that like button. If we get this video to 100 likes, we'll go ahead and give away a sweet DNA t-shirt.
Yep, absolutely. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video. Make sure you share it. Again, like Darren said, make sure you guys subscribe.
All right, should we move on to Major League Baseball?
Yeah.
Thank you for everybody who watched our MLB predictions on free agency the week before last. I did get Aaron Nola wrong. That he did end up re-signing, which I was actually surprised on. I thought the Phillies were going to go after Snell for that guy, so we'll see how that changes things up. But so the only update we have on Shohei Ohtani is that the Braves are still intriguing. He is looking to potentially play in Toronto, which would be interesting because that's the only international baseball team. So he's an international player.
That's kind of crazy. I don't see him going to Toronto.
I don't either.
I feel like that's way out of the way.
Let me ask you this about Shohei Ohtani. They still say the number one odds to land him is the Dodgers. Vegas betting odds is he's going to end up with the Dodgers. Would you take the Dodgers or the field? Meaning by the field, I'm meaning all the other teams that are potentially up for Shohei Ohtani, like the Mets, the Braves, the Giants.
My vote's Braves always, but I think the Dodgers are probably going to be the best team for him based on the closeness to Japan. He wants to be on the West Coast. I could see him working with the schedule. The Dodgers don't immediately need pitching.
I don't know what Dodger team you were watching last year, but we rolled out 15 starting pitchers last year.
Oh, so they do immediately.
And like pitching. 8 of them were rookies. So yeah, it was pretty tough.
Rookies do fine.
We started Lance Lynn in a playoff game. Oh, by the way, just in. Yep, he just gave up another home run.
As the rumor goes, he's still giving up home runs to this day.
Good luck, Cardinals. Good luck. Hope you enjoy that guy. Which, by the way, I think is really funny. The Arizona Cardinals, they have signed.
Hold on, the Arizona Cardinals.
Sorry,
the football team.
Sorry, wow, not the Arizona Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay,
have signed.
So he didn't switch sports and go to football.
No, he didn't. No,
Good.
He didn't. Good. So they did sign Lance Lynn, and they also signed Sonny Gray, which I thought was going to stay in Minnesota, but Sonny Gray signed there. And so now with Adam Wainwright, who's 42 years old, right? Like he's an old dude. He just retired this year. The average age for the Cardinals starting pitching went up by their signings of adding Lance Lynn and Sonny Gray. Yeah, so that was interesting. But yeah, so I don't know. If you were to ask me, I would take the field because obviously I'm picking Shohei to go to the San Francisco Giants, which is my team's arch rival, which would not be great for the Dodgers. But I just think the Giants have tried so hard, ever going all the way back to Bryce Harper, to sign an elite player, and they just keep missing the target. I don't think they're going to try. I definitely don't think anybody's going to outbid the Giants.
Yeah.
And I think the Giants have enough playoff success to, justify potentially signing him. But I think the Dodgers have that trump because.
Make sure you guys check out the previous video where Darren predicts Shohei Ohtani landing spots.
Yeah. If you'd like to see it's in the previous video, we'll, link it somewhere around here. Be sure to check that out. But yeah, I definitely think that the Dodgers do. I mean, they're perennial. The number one thing that he wants to do is he wants to win. And the Dodgers are in the playoffs every year for the last 11 years straight. So, it's kind of hard to argue against that, but I don't know. I don't see the Giants getting beat out by anybody. So that's just my take on that.
But. Right. Did you know that the per game average for MLB errors this year is 0.52%, and it is steadily dropped for 3 seasons now?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually kind of interesting.
Some of the biggest controversy around this statistic is how errors are actually being judged.
Yeah,
because there's teams, like balls are getting hit, guys are misplaying it, and they're just calling, oh, that was just a hit
because of exit velocity.
Mhm.
Because we're doing the
because
advanced
now we
analytics.
can track X. Yeah, you're now tracking advanced analytics. Well,
Yeah,
he didn't have a chance to make a play on that.
it was 102.5 mile an hour exit velocity. There's no way he's getting to that, you know.
Yeah,
And you're just
it's like
yeah, hit right at him. I don't know.
yeah, it went off his foot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually do 100% agree with that. I have seen quite a few where I'm like, dude, there's no way that's a hit. Yeah, but I thought that's kind of interesting, man. That is really interesting.
Kind of crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like,
Let us know in the comments down below, folks. Let us know what you think of that. Do you think it's just the fact that, you know, the defense is getting better in Major League Baseball? It might be this quickness of play. No one's getting tired. No one's standing out there waiting for the pitcher 45 seconds between pitch.
That probably helps.
Probably helps.
Yeah, just play clock and
I mean, our friend the pitch clock.
Yeah,
our friend the pitch clock has not been good to pitchers, so we'll definitely cover that on another episode.
Yep.
Be sure to tune into that. If you'd like to hear about that, let us know in the comments down below, and also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. But the winter meetings start December 2nd or December 3rd, so we'll have more to cover. Hopefully, some more free agency moves will happen. But you know how it works for us. Right after we wrap up recording this, Shohei Ohtani will be signed. So
yeah, that's kind of. And then this video will be absolutely invalid.
Exactly. So, well, once again, folks, we do want to go ahead and thank you. Now, we want to go ahead and quickly touch base and let you know we really appreciate the fact that we are now at 500 subscribers on this channel. I believe we have 541 at the time of subscribing.
Yep.
So we deeply want to thank you all for subscribing to the channel. We are in the grind to get to 1,000 subscribers. We'd like to hit that before the end of the year. So we are doing an incentive where we're giving away the first $500 that we earned in AdSense revenue back to our subscribers. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. Hit that notification bell. Hit a like on this video. That way we get in the YouTube algorithm so more people will see it. Should we talk about the live thing?
Yeah, absolutely. We're potentially thinking about filming this thing live.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think. Maybe here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to start recording it live. We'll pick a time. You guys go ahead and tune in and you can watch the show live, comment. We can do a little bit of interaction. Absolutely. Let us know what you guys think.
Absolutely. So once again, folks, my name is Darren. That is AJ. And this has been the DNA Sports Recap.
Till next time.